Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Bernard Agrest. Hey, Bernard, welcome back.
Thanks, Vasco. Excited for the weekend.
Absolutely. It is Friday, TGIF. So TGIF is also the Product Owner episode, and we'll talk about what great product owners look and sound like in a minute. But first, share with us potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
Yeah, not going to call anyone out, but I think the worst anti-pattern product owner thing that I've seen has been adding everything to the backlog because of either emotional appeal or hierarchy, right? So you're not adding based on value. And right, I think it's an anti-pattern because it seems like the PO is being collaborative, right? They're talking to people, they're collaborative, they're responsive. Oh yeah, that's great. But if you're listening to everyone, I don't think you're listening to anyone, and you're certainly not listening to what the value of the product is supposed to be. You're not owning outcomes. You have no real accountability. And I've worked with someone like that. And so in that role, it's really difficult to coach, right? Because, you have no authority, right? Everything's about influence. And this is a PO who is responding almost exclusively to authority. And so I call it runaround coaching, right? I'm not coaching them on how do you say no. Instead, I start helping them with defining the business case for why they need to say yes or no to something, especially during a sprint, right? Because if you're adding something during a sprint, which I've seen happen many times, I mean, that's just going to, mess things up too. A great technique that I've used is cost of delay. Because if you can do the cost of delay, if you can put a real number, and it doesn't have to be like, we go down into the details, get an exact metric, but just a general sense of, hey, if we take this, the cost of delay is X. And I think it's a very professional way of pushing back on a request that messes up a sprint. And then the other thing that I'll do, right, again, all of this has to be kind of like, I call it runaround coaching, is try to publicly support them. And reminding people, stakeholders themselves, staff members, like, hey, like, what is the role of a PO? And if we need to, I'm happy to facilitate a team level working agreement that reinforces roles so people can actually get back to being productive.
Yeah. And the PO role is so critical that sometimes just talking about it is necessary because not everybody understands the PO at the same level. When in this case, you just gave an example that is very specific, the PO that can't say no. Sometimes this PO is maybe too focused on the hierarchical approval, right? Like getting the people with power happy, and they don't realize necessarily the consequences of saying yes to everything. And because they are saying yes to everything, then there's also the pressure to deliver. And this PO is likely going to put pressure on the team to do more, to deliver more. And that creates all kinds of other anti-patterns. So sometimes we do need to step back and consider, what do we need to talk to the POs and the stakeholders about the PO role? Right. And I wrote and produced a few years ago the Coach Your PO e-course. The link is in the show notes for people to go and check it out. And there we cover not only the let's call it the critical skills that every PO should have, but also like these techniques, these approaches to bring the right topics with the POs. For example, one is saying no to backlogs. Another one, which is a very common anti-pattern, is to help product owners create the space and time to be present with the team. And as Scrum Masters, we need to be able to help the POs create that space, because otherwise the team does not succeed, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, but it's not only about bad anti-patterns. Sometimes we do work with amazing product owners. So it's good to focus on that and share one of those stories. So Bernard, when you think about the best product owner you've ever worked with, how did they work?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this question, and I've never worked with this person directly. He was a PO when I was at Teach for America is a little bit decentralized in that there are regions, so like the Oklahoma region and the Bay Area region that I worked for, and then there's like the overarching national team. And so he was the PO for a very critical product on the national team that every region interfaced with. And I worked really closely with him at times. Just never, he was never like on my team. And so what consistently impressed me about him was he managed a product that, literally impacted millions of people. And he needed to manage a product that had to consistently evolve due to changing internal policies, but then also changing external regulations. And so he had this remarkable ability to balance short-term backlog decisions and long-term strategic engagement, while keeping, easily hundreds of stakeholders engaged and informed. And I think what made him so good at his job was that he was not only an expert in the product, but really an expert in understanding how the different organizational functions worked out there, and really insert the opposite of silo, right? He was almost like the spoke in the wheel of how can I slot in to make this team's life easier. So he really, really understood that, and so he wasn't coming with the way it worked for him was it wasn't that a team would come to him with an idea and he would do it. He would come to the team with an idea with already a mapped out business case for why it should get done and how it would help them. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. And then he'd work with them and he would then add in features.
Yeah. And that is so important, the understanding of why this is important, how it affects others. Also because product owners delegate many detailed decisions to the development team, because it's impossible to know everything in advance. And
Yep.
when if you create the business case, if you share clearly what the need is, if you even paint a few stories of success that might happen after the product or the feature is available, then you're really helping the team to be much more clear about how they build the product and to help them make those decisions on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I keep thinking of it how is it that I can make the tech work for you? Right. I think sometimes we think of tech as just something that enables our work, but it really does improve our work. And I think he saw that so clearly. And because he was so well versed in the organization as a whole, he was also quite senior at the organizational level, right? Because he was both senior and proximate, and just very well understood. I think that the value that he added was just immense.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about these kind of stories, these kinds of product owners, I think one thing we should do as a community is to collect these stories. And that's, of course, what we're trying to do here on the podcast, because this story is something you can just clip on YouTube. For example, if you're listening on YouTube, you can clip this on YouTube and you can send it to a PO that needs help or to a Scrum Master that needs inspiration, and get that message out there and really inspire product owners to be more what their stakeholders need, to be more what their teams need, and ultimately to be more of what the business and the product needs.
Yeah, I really do love that. Hopefully people clip this.
There you go. Clip this, everybody. Bernard, it's been a pleasure. We're getting close to the end, but before we go, where should people go if they want to know more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thanks so much, Vasco. It's been a pleasure as well. I'm always happy to chat with people and meet new connections. They can find me on linkedin.com/Bernard Agrest. And I post about project management and change management, and also a little bit of AI stuff as well in the context of PMing, 2 to 3 times a week.
Absolutely. And I'll put the link in the show notes to make sure that you all can easily connect with Bernard and maybe ask a few follow-up questions, share your own story. Trading war stories is a great way to learn, right? You heard some from
Oh,
Bernard this
yeah.
week. Why not share some with them as well? Bernard, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you, Vasco. Thank you for inviting me as well.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.